Hey, everybody, this is Liz coming to you on a Sunday. And I have a few things that I am thinking about you all and some important things that we deal with as business owners, managers, GMs, whoever is in charge of the team and helping the team perform and bring income to the company. So I want to share two different things, and we'll talk about firing first, and then we'll talk about when we have to do layoffs. If you've read the book Dream Maker, it is an entire story, scenarios about a company where they decided to find out what the hopes and dreams of each employee were and to focus on bringing some of those things to pass for the team and, being all about the team and making everything wonderful for them. Well, when you deal with a lot of stuff all the time and a lot of frustrations with the team, a lot of them letting you down, breaking stuff, just unprofessionalism, I found it really hard after reading that book, like the second time. I wanted to read the book to give my employees an opportunity and to be there for them. But I would get a little bit resentful when I listened to it because I'm like, we are pouring everything into these people. We do need to get a little work out of them. We spend all this money on training them, trying to make all their dreams come true. But let's get down to the brass tacks. It's a job and you're supposed to work, and it's an exchange of value. They put in time, we give them money, and we expect that while they have given us the time for that day, that they're 100% about the company. As you know, that's not the status quo for sure. The status quo is what can my company do for me, not what can I do for my company. So this is a big topic that causes a lot of anxiety for owners and all those in a leadership position, because to fire someone is a big decision in one way, because you're affecting a lot of times an entire family's livelihood, not just maybe a young single guy that lives at home with his parents and is partially dependent on their income, but an entire family. And it can be pretty devastating. So there's many times we give warnings, we give performance plans for them to raise the bar. And yet there are times when it's one strike, you're out. So there could be drug use on the job, there could be drinking on the job, malicious intent of threats, and stealing. There's multiple things that it would be one strike, you're out. But then there's gray areas where you could talk to multiple different people and you could get their opinion. And would I fire this person over this, that, or the other? Some people are very strict about tardiness. And if someone shows up late, it's considered disrespect to the company, disrespect for the team, especially if you're on P4P and your partner in your mowing truck is waiting for you. You're wasting their time and the money they could potentially be making if they're waiting for this person. So some of you will fire if they're late at all, and others of you will give a little bit of mercy. A lot of times we try to inspire our teams. We try to have them listen to the audibles. We try to have them be better people and give them every opportunity to succeed, as well as have the job to have all the training and everything they need. But it's not always going to be appreciated. It's not always going to be implemented and taken into their lives as something to give them more growth in their jobs. There is an employee mentality, and that's okay. Not everybody can be managers and leaders, and there is a difference there. Not everybody wants to be that. Some people are just steady souls, and they just want to come to work, put their time in, and leave. And you need those people. They are a majority of what our teams are. But those people are appreciative. They're steady. They're always there. They're loyal. And maybe they don't understand all the big picture, all the big vision, but they don't cause trouble, and they just come to work to do their job and go home. Low drama, wonderful people. And we need those. And we can put the tools and the resources there, but they might not be interested in using them. And so it takes all kinds. So there's no cookie cutter way and incident in which to fire somebody. cautionary tales are there's times that we have so much life experience and we have so many things that we've overcome. We have so many scenarios that we've seen in our lives. And so we have a lot of guidance to give. We have a lot of answers to give. And from failures and successes we've seen others make, when employees have certain situations and issues that is jeopardizing their job, we have a lot of input. We've had so many reps and we've seen so much that we actually step in and try to become their life counselor. So they might come, oh, this is me and my girlfriend issue. And then you can go into relationships and you need to choose between your girlfriend and your job and give them advice about your relationships and your life. They can talk about drug use, and you can talk to them about extreme ownership and about the drug use and getting rehab and all of those things. And you sit down and you have this heart to heart. And when they're at work, let's say we're in an office setting and we have a gal who's crying, always has issues. You're trying to help her. You're trying to get her to be there and perform for the company, but you have to keep walking out with her to guide her, soothe her, help her through her issues. And then you do what I did one time. I'm like, you're not feeling well. You have stuff going on. Otherwise, you're a good worker and you're great on the phone. And that's what I needed her to be, great at customer services. So I actually gave her a month off to get better, brought her back, like poured myself out for this person, gave them everything they could have possibly needed. Extra breaks, different shifts, shorter hours, special chairs, special desk, everything. I went too far. And we learn from these things because in that specific situation, I gave too much. So I would go out of the office and give time and all the talking. How much money was being wasted from that revenue that employee was supposed to be generating from the time I was spending there? So there is a fine line in between leading by example and trying to inspire your team, and then the other side where you need to tell them, okay, they'll say, I'm not going to be in today. And you're not going to say why. You're just going to say, okay, thank you for letting me know. I'll put that down. And they'll let you know, do they want PTO or not? No PTO. But I have learned over time to not become people's personal counselor, their parent, their therapist. And I have had to learn this the hard way. A lot of times you can give too much, go too far, and say too much that it actually backfires on you when you were trying to help and be kind. And that did happen to me. And we were sued because of something I said in a text message. And it was just like the phrasing of it. Everything was good until the one phrasing of this text. And they got me on it. Out of sheer ignorance, I'm trying to keep you from having mistakes of that kind. There are things to listen for in interviews that you know are going to be an issue after. For instance, if somebody is asking you in the interview, do you have insurance? I currently work at this roofing company and they have no insurance and it's so dangerous. And you say, yes, we have insurance. And like, wonderful. I want to work here. They start working for you. 4 days later, they trip on the trailer door. And in the end, you're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars because you got sued because they immediately made a claim against you that they got hurt. And the whole time they just needed some more pain meds. And so that was their whole plan, is that would happen. And you phrase something wrong, you say something just wrong, and everything sides with the employee. So over time, you learn in your state, find out what you need to say when you do fire someone. Our state, in Washington State, is an at-will state. So I could say to my employee, I'm letting you go. Thank you for your service at Augusta. We no longer need your services, and you can let them go without any reason. Usually, employees know. So if they haven't been showing up for the team, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 25 minutes. Their teammate is waiting for them. Okay, I know when they get here, they're going to be able to take over. I can get a break. And then they don't show up. And so then it affects their performance. So you could actually say, if you were trying to verbalize a reason why you were letting that person go, if you had to have a reason, it would be not showing up for the team. And then you could say not performing, because all of this comes back to you when you have to you get papers in the mail that you have to fill out for unemployment. And so you can say nothing, but if they ask and there's paperwork you want to fill out, you can say why you let them go. And it could be not showing up for the team, always tardy, and not performing up to what the position that they were hired to when they were first hired to your company. Find out what that is. And then there's different ways to fire depending on the person, on the situation, how many times they've been warned before. And there is a legal way to do it. There's an ethical way to do it. And there are times when you need to protect your team. So a lot of people in our industries, blue collar workers, they have teams that go out, perform services for customers. And things can happen on the property, things can happen within the team and within the company that become reasons that we need to let someone go. This causes a lot of anxiety for owners. It gets you really stirred up because not only are you emotional about what's happening with the employee, you're emotional about the way to go about it. A lot of times we react incorrectly and we fire incorrectly. So if I can give you some tips here today that help you in the future, there's no cookie cutter way. So you want to back away, detach, become unemotional. And what is your responsibility? So if you're the manager, you're the GM, your number one job there is to bring revenue for your company, protect your team, and serve your clients. And so if what the person is doing is causing loss to the company, it's affecting your culture, it's things that are blatantly wrong, which those are like I already mentioned, those one strike, you're out. I'm not talking about those. You're going to come to these times where you're not sure what to do. Don't just get emotional and say something that you'll regret. Retreat back away, just leave the conversation and just say, I'll reconnect with you on that or something. But there are times that reports come and it needs to be handled that day, but how do you do it? So I'll give you a few scenarios and how I handled them. Sometimes it looks identical, but you're going to handle it differently. So for example, I had one of my team members, they came back after the end of the day, they were in the field work and one was terrified. And he said the other one had been driving and they were driving with the, not a ramp rack, but the truck and the full mowing trailer. And they were on the side of the road. The road was actually called Double Ditch Road, and there were ditches on each side. And the guy was flying down the road, and like the back of it was fishtailing. And the passenger, who was the one that came back to me, he was shaking when he came back. He was just terrified that there was something wrong, like the person was on drugs or something. They were not thinking like a rational human being when they asked them to stop or anything. So in that particular case, it was reckless driving. It was putting the other person in danger. It was putting other customers in, people out on the road in danger, and the company's equipment. And who knows who they could have hurt and the damage that could have been done if they could have gone in that ditch, also damaging people's property. So in a case like that, by the time that young man had put his clippings away or whatever and came back in, I could calmly say, hey, I need your key. And the key would be for all the locks on the property to get in the trailers and everything. I need your company credit card. Can you just put those here for me? And you can say that really nicely. And you can say, well, I'm not sure what you were thinking, but Ben let us know that you had terrible, reckless driving, and just explain the thing. And we cannot have you continue to work here. Or you could just have them come back and say, we're going to do a random drug test. We have the person go do a drug test. We find out that they are on pot. We did find this out. What's really funny is his name was Stone. And he was stoned, and Stone got fired. So in that case, it was pretty black and white. He wasn't even being rational, like when he responded. There was another time when I got a report that one of the young men who was making incredible P4P, he was one of the highest paid getting P4P, and he was just fast, but he got a lot of yellow slips. And so the guys kind of resented him because they'd have to go back and fix his yellow slips and things. Well, one day I get this report that he's like flying behind the lawnmower. I'm getting all these calls about yellow slips with all the weeds and everything. Oh, it was Frank again and all this. Well, when he first came to the company, he had a plan to actually have a vineyard in Oregon, and that was his dream. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to work at Augusta and learn business, and then get the whole experience, and then go and start his vineyard, his orchards, whatever he was going to do. And I knew that. And I knew that was his hope and his dream, and wanted to make that happen for him. Well, he was heavily on drugs. He was smoking pot, and his behavior was reckless. But he was also a symptom of that a lot is paranoia and, accusing other people and things. So I heard, I was getting all these reports, the guys that were with him, how he was acting, behaving, being reckless, going too fast. And so I just texted him and I said, hey, instead of going to your next job, I would like you to go ahead and head to Bellingham. Here is the address. And I would just like you to go do a drug test. And he's like, no, I'm on the job and all this. And I'm always like very matter of fact, just like, hey, we're working in the middle of the day. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to go to the next job. I'd like you to just go get the drug test. And he's like, oh, okay, whatever. So then he's on the way and he calls me and he's like, maybe I should just save you money to go do the drug test and save time. And he said, yes, I'm smoking pot. It's going to come back that I'm positive. And he wanted to know, could he keep working? Could he keep trying? I'm like, well, it's in your system. You're still doing it. You're admitting that you're doing it, and you are putting the team in danger, and you are messing up all the time. And so, no, I need to let you go. And those are not the kind that rip your heart out, because you know that the decisions he made put his own hopes and dreams and everything in jeopardy. I've also had employees that were incredible, very, very good, and performed well, worked hard. And then I would start getting little hints of things that you would think, oh, it was just one day. And this one guy, he would call me and he'd say, I can't find a place to park. And like, think about that. Common sense. Like, how am I going to help him park? Well, I actually pulled up the map of where he was, and I was like, well, you can go around the corner here. Looks like there's a cul-de-sac and you can park here. And like, but that's weird, right? Why couldn't you just figure that out? So things like that would start to happen where he was anxious, paranoid, those sorts of things. And then still a good worker. But then we needed help at one of our other corporate companies. So he was a great employee. We thought we'd send him over there and let them help. And he was great for a while, like just kicking butt, making great P4P. The GM there just appreciated him. But then he would start saying, oh, I need to leave in the middle of the day. And he would just leave the truck where it was and have somebody come get him. It was nuts. And the mowing hookup and everything, customers were waiting for him to show up, and he would have this reason or that reason. And I'm pretty sure I've heard almost every reason there is an excuse about everything. But some of the things I was hearing is that his cat had passed away and their family was having a funeral for the cat. This was one that this young man had, all the family needs to be there for the cat's funeral. That was one that he had. Well, there were so many things one after the other that this other GM was telling me, like, he's just abandoning the jobs and just leaving everything unlocked, and we have to go find it and all this stuff. So I'm like, I got to talk to him. There's really no private place because all the crew is like rolling back in at the end of the day. So I told him, he was gone, like he had went off the job. I'm like, hey, when we get a second, can you just come by and have a chat with me? And I try not to make it very stressful or foreboding or anything so that they wouldn't actually meet with me. So I'll just say, I just need to run something by you or talk to you about something. So he actually came and I met him outside of our gate there. And I opened the passenger door because I'm like, I'm going to do this conversation in private in his car. And the idea was to try to catch him a little bit in his own lies. And I opened the door and all this stuff pours out. So there's like drug paraphernalia, there's alcohol bottles, there's food wrappings and all the junk from food. There are condoms. Like, it was nuts. And I open the door, stuff just pours out. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to get in and talk to you. Well, oh my goodness, he was like frantic. He was picking everything up out of the seat, those little empty like whiskey bottles and stuff, trying to throw everything in the back so I wouldn't see it. Then I just got in and I had a heart to heart with him. He was very much loved, and just told him at that point, I was probably, I still hadn't learned the lesson that I shouldn't be too kind. And I would say what mattered to the job. So you haven't been performing well. We've noticed like a deterioration of the way you are. You're abandoning the team. You're abandoning the customers. We can't keep doing this. And I can't accuse him of being on any drugs or anything. I can only address the lack of performance. And I can't be accusatory of like that he's on drugs or anything. So I sat in the car and expressed my love and concern for him all the times we had put together. I had interviewed him a couple times and just put together plans, and with the extreme ownership, and he had tried and all of these things. And so I just had to let him go. And that was a hard one. We care so much about them and we invest so much time in them. The things in their family we know about, we know what they've gone through. And so a lot of times that blinds us to the fact that our responsibility is to make money for this company. We have exchanged our time for money, and you're actually stealing from the company when you don't do the things you're supposed to do. The owner is depending on you to do your job and to back away and be unemotional. Now, there are times when you're in your busiest season, like spring rush, and things come up and you absolutely know that you should fire someone. Now, be mindful of the load that's going to be on the rest of the team if you fire that person now. So you know you're going to fire them. You know you have to fire them. But if you do, it's going to really hurt the team. They're going to have to work more hours. It's going to make it harder on them. So you have to kind of count the cost and pay the price. You leave them on, you let them help. And you just know that you will let them go as soon as you can. You bring other people on, you train them, get other people on the team, and then you can let them go. There's by then usually a whole stack of things that are there for them to be accused of. But there's hundreds and hundreds of scenarios. There's thousands of lies that can be told. But I have really come to realize, even in the last 6-7 months, that there are actually seasons of leadership. As you get reps, hiring and firing, you have a lot more discernment, common sense, awareness, situational awareness, and you know that you've built relationship capital in these people. You've tried. You just got to know when you go to bed at night that you've tried everything you can for your team to inspire them, to give them the tools they need to do a great job while they're there. Some of us, it's like we think about these people in bed. Some of us care so deeply. We know somebody, got divorced. We know they're a single mom now. It was very unexpected. It was horrible. Like, you're thinking about them. You're thinking about, can I put them in a place in the company where they can grow more, grow faster, How can I give them an opportunity? And so it's the care for them that makes it very difficult to fire them, but it's also the thing that can blind you to do the right thing. So run it through the filter that if the owner walked in today and he saw what I'm seeing, what would he do? And a lot of times he would just, what are you doing? Fire them. I see that. And yet it's kind of like the frog that slowly gets hotter and hotter to where it can be boiled. It's you have just let that thing simmer. It's causing poison in the team. It's messing up the culture. And this person's costing money and you needed to get rid of them. So there's so many different scenarios. Don't let somebody tell you that there's only one right way to fire. Work with your team, give 100% to your team, do everything you can. And there's something specific that I'll point out. Depending on your industry, if you're dealing with the team in the office, you're going to handle things differently than you would with the crew in the field. The crew in the field are hot, tired. They are dealing with traffic and customers and people that are upset with them. And they're supposed to be on stage and performing out there. And maybe they forgot their lunch. So they're hungry and they're dehydrated. They're hangry and they're exhausted. They've been doing this, for a couple months now, and they're completely wiped out. So in those cases, back off and think about them for a minute. So I had times, even like, this is embarrassing to admit, where I was so upset and said inappropriate things to my boss, and I should have been fired. And I talk to my leadership team now, and I tell them these stories, and they're like, Mike, why didn't you fire her? And he said, because I knew she cared so much for the company and that there had to be something else going on. Like there was a reason why she was mad, like my own issues, personal issues, or stress that he didn't know about that I was dealing with. And I got really mad, said inappropriate things, and I had walked out. It was a time where there were other people there. So it wasn't like I abandoned the team, but still, I'm the one in charge and I shouldn't have done that. And so a lot of times when somebody would do that, you would just fire them on the spot. But in that case, the reason was he knew how committed I was, how much I loved the company, how much I had the vision for the company. So think about those things. Is the person that is your GM just frustrated with the software, the equipment, the people they're supposed to be taking care of, the pressure that you just added more jobs to the schedule? And on top of that, they got some issue going on in their relationship at home. Okay, that is like the perfect storm. And they are going to be human and they're going to freak out. And sometimes, a lot of times, is not the time for you to get mad at the way they're behaving and fire them. And that's why I say to detach from being emotional, because if you fired that person, so there was a situation not too long ago where the owner had talked to me and he's like, whoa, he hung up on me. And that was so disrespectful. And I don't put up with that. And I think I'm going to have to fire him. And then he said, we had this job on the schedule, been on the schedule for a couple months. The day of, the guy, his GM says, oh, I can't come in. And he's like, we have this job. The 50% down payment has already been made. I really need you to come in. Well, that's huge. The owner had to end up refunding the customer. And because the employee thought it was too big of a job for him to go like one day, then the next day, then the next day, and do a large project himself. It really doesn't matter. You're working 8 hours a day, but he was just overwhelmed by how big this project was going to be and that he didn't want to do it alone. Well, the owner's trying to say to him, well, if you weren't here and I was the owner and I'm a solo owner, I'm going to go and work a little bit at that job every single day. So the GM was tired and he was trying to manage the team and everything. And he got mad and he hung up. And then this other thing happened with that job. And the owner was just so frustrated, like, oh no, I'm going to have to let him go. He's so up and down and all over the place like a yo-yo. And he has this relationship and he needs to break up with this person. And of course, you can't say all that stuff. And that employee is now listening to the content that we put out. He has changed his attitude. He has made some better choices, we hope, with his relationship, and he's doing great. So if he had been fired, where would that owner be today? And I told the owner that I appreciated that he didn't just fire him. And when he wanted to fire him and say he just hung up on me and he was just boiling mad, that was the first time I had ever told the story about myself and that I should have been fired. But somebody was looking a little deeper and from a different angle and knew that I shouldn't be fired because of the employee that I was. And I'm like, was this person there for you before? Have they shown up? Have you thrown them into a situation where they haven't been a GM long? And this is a lot of stress. And yeah, he took all that into account, and he was very kind, had a good conversation with him. And the employees, the GM is doing great now. So read books, listen to others, talk to people that have had a lot of reps hiring and firing. And I've had hundreds. And so email me, reach out to other business owners. Don't make stupid mistakes because you're too humble to ask for help or how to handle a specific situation. Now, I am also running the command center, which is when I worked in the office in the shop and ran the routes and the crews. This is, 99.9% dudes. And when stuff would happen, I could be like, dude, get it together. And I could have a rougher conversation like that. But now I'm in the office and I have office staff, which are 99% women. And now you have emotions, and sometimes it's busy on the phone. There's a lot of irate customers that are extremely rude. And so they have learned all that as part of their training, is how to handle that. But there are times they don't show up. They're rude to clients. They maybe lie. They're not pulling their weight. They're stealing from the company. They're just not showing up on time, not showing up randomly, blah, blah, blah. There's a million reasons other than the field guys that the stuff happens in the office. If someone says they're sick, you cannot fire them because they said they were sick. However, if they keep not showing up and now they're better and now they're still not showing up, it becomes a performance issue. And you can let them go on the point that they're not performing. And that covers you. So I had a situation recently where I was told this person had an ectopic pregnancy and they were suffering and dealing with all these things and in the hospital, and the recovery was horrible. And I was 100% like locked in, helping them when they got out of the hospital, just saying, hey, just come and do what you can, even if it's just a short day. If you're getting emotional, having a hard problem or having a hard time trying to do customer service and you start to crying or whatever, just do what you can. Let's get you better. And I would hear from them, oh, my dad's an alcoholic and I'm really trying to get him to get better and take care of himself and make good decisions. You can't tell these people they're lying. You don't know if they're lying. You have to work with the words and the things that they're saying. And you might have suspicions now. You might be watching them. You might hear. So this happens many times. You end up firing somebody and your employees tell you later about all this stuff that you didn't know about. And this is exactly what happened with this gal. I finally let her go because it was right before each shift when she would suddenly say, I don't feel well. And this is months after she was better. And there was still all this going on. So to me, that's, you're not showing up for the team. Therefore, your performance is hurt. And I didn't really have to give any reason. Once I let them go, I heard from the team, all those things that had been told to you were lies. And that person who let me know this, they had went to them and they had said, you're lying to Liz. None of these things have even happened to you. And what had come out was this employee was the alcoholic. And okay, she wasn't showing up because she was plastered the night before and had a hangover. And still to this, I'm still giving that person the benefit of the doubt. I still look at it like I have to believe what they tell me. And I can only use the information that I'm given. I can't tell them, I see the drama you're creating in the office. I see the things you try to spread about other people. I can't tell them they don't feel well. And I can't tell them that that didn't happen to them or that physical condition isn't even possible in such and such a situation. But other employees had caught them like right in the lie, and they would suddenly realize, oh, that doesn't really fit, and try to retract their statements. And so I had asked an employee if they could move to another area so we could do some training with them. And they're like, yeah, no problem. Just don't put me by so-and-so. And I thought, that's a little weird. And then, of course, after I had let that person go, they had come to me, well, that's why, because I'm here to work. And there was all this drama always being talked about. And so if you have a gut feeling and it goes on for a long time that someone is causing issues in the company, culture's being hurt, it's kind of spreading poison, you're not going to hear about it very much if you've given your employees extreme ownership training and if they are there to help each other succeed. So my point is you've cultivated a team of good culture. So they don't want to come tattle. They're trying to make it work. They are trying to not participate in the drama, but still have try to do their job for you. And so they're afraid to come forward sometimes, not afraid so much, but just they don't want to create waves. And there are times that you finally, for some other reason, fire the person, then you hear all that after. So be sensitive to your team. If they're all like being weird around a person, being careful, like kind of shutting their mouth when the person walks in, you're like, that's a little weird. And then you might call people out. Just watch your people and be sensitive to what's going on. And then you're going to have times. So you're going to have times when you're going to be sued. Get used to it. Every business does that grows and is trying to do anything great. You're human. You're going to mess up. Try to learn from other people, though, and their experiences before you do the wrong thing. Use our mistakes as stepping stones and not stumbling blocks. Is what you want to do. So another I'll tell you about this one final one, which was my most recent. There are things that don't bother you, but they make your team fearful or they upset your team. And so you have to address it for your team. I personally am not a person who gets scared. People could say pretty horrid things to me. And, if it was somebody that I really cared about their opinion, it would be very hurtful. But there are other times when people could say something so blatant about you that you could almost laugh. And there had been a threat made against me by an employee who I love deeply, but they were mad at me because I had fired someone. And so they texted another employee in the company and said this threatening thing about me to another employee. And that employee, as you can imagine, was terrified. And they didn't know what to do. Do I go tell Liz? Do I tell somebody else? Is this the kind of thing I just keep to myself? What if the person really carried out this threat? Like, it puts them in this really weird position. And so they went to another employee and they're like, what should I do? And they're like, we absolutely should tell Liz. And so this threat had been made against me. And I wanted to burst out laughing because I know the person. I know that they respect me. They like me. And I've never had an issue with them in the way that they've gone through a lot of hard times, a lot of trauma. I've always been there for them. When they go to the doctor and need help and whatever, years I've helped them and been there for them. So I know it's like your kid getting mad and saying stupid things. And it's just because they're mad. It's not because they don't love mom and dad. And so I wanted to laugh at this threat because I'm not scared of this person. I wouldn't even be scared if they tried to take out their threat. I feel like I could talk them down. But my employees had never heard it before. They had never seen it before. They were already uncomfortable because of other things that had happened with this person. And because I had dealt with that with other people having the same feelings and fears and reservations, I had to address it. And so this was one of those times where I have full autonomy to make decisions and my boss will back me up. That's why I'm in that position. As the person like second in command, though, I could make whatever decision and he would back me up if it was right or wrong. But then there's other times I'll say, this happened. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking I should do. Now I need another pair of eyes. Is there something I'm not thinking of? Is there an angle I'm not seeing? And then they would say, well, what about this and this? And so in this case, I know that if something's a threat's made against me, I don't really care. But I have to act because the employees are upset. And so in this particular case, so I asked Mike, okay, does this seem like a fireable offense to you? Or is it what I think, that the person was just mad, they were just spewing, they don't really mean what they said? And so then he and I, we talk it all out from every angle. What should we do? How should we handle it? It's a big deal to your team how you handle these things. Sometimes if you, like I said before, you'll hear later things that come out, but they will have such respect for you when they actually see you struggling with it, because they know you care about that person, but you also care about the team. And then it comes down to, I have to protect my team. I have to make this a safe environment for them to come to. Whether or not it's me or somebody else, somebody's threatened their leader. And so they're like, if they threaten my leader, are they going to threaten other people here that don't have the power to do anything about it? So I wanted to protect the person that had reported it. So I needed to very carefully handle that as well. And so I decided to take action. And there are times that you need to have a careful plan in place. You can text someone that you're letting them go, or you can do it in person. If there's been no malicious behavior at all, and the person's seen it coming, they can't perform, they're having a hard time, their kids, they're always leaving for their kids. If you bring that up, they're not going to be surprised. And I've let people go in that situation and say, you know what? You're awesome at your job, but it might not be the season for you. I have to let you go because you're never here. You're always leaving in the middle of the shift. However, if you can get it together, get some childcare, figure out how to get here, I would love to have you reapply next year and come back, because you yourself and your work is awesome. And it's not bad. Like, they appreciate it. They know what's going on. That's not malicious. So if that person in particular had a code to your door, they had a key to your door, they would just give it to you, no big deal. But then there's other people that know too much, have worked there too long. They know passwords, they have keys, they know codes. You have to very carefully plan that out to make sure your team is safe and that you get those things back. And so in that case, there has to be a careful plan. This is what's going to happen. This is going to be my verbiage. And you have team members. I'm not a talker. I don't spread private things. Doesn't matter if I'm letting somebody go. I'm going to be very respectful of the person. It's not the person that I have a problem with. It's the behavior. It's the action. And I have to detach and do what's right for the company. I am an employee and I have to take care of the company and I have to take care of the team. That means doing gut-wrenching, hard things. And I'm the type of person that feels it really deeply. I feel it from their point of view, their family's point of view. And there are times that it's just, this is the way it is. This is what I've got to do. And it's hard, but I'm just settled. There's other times I go home and cry. This particular situation, I did not want to let them go. I know they had had a lot of struggles personally. I didn't want them to leave and hurt themselves. But in the end, can I keep the person there because of me, because I care, because it's okay with me that I was threatened? I have to think bigger picture. So at a specific point, we made sure they walked out the door for the day. We changed 7 passwords. We changed the code on the door. And then once that was done, I contacted the person, let them know we were letting them go. I let them know why, but I didn't mention any names of anybody who had told me anything because I wanted to protect those people. And that's why you can't just fly off the handle and fire someone. It is very important. However, there may be times when a person thinks, oh, they just fired me like that. But that's not true. They know that thing after thing after thing after thing has happened, and it might seem sudden, but no, in my mind, I was like, if it happens again, I am obligated to let them go. And it's not sudden. Million scenarios. Ask somebody for help. If you've never done these things before, get help, ask advice. There are cut and dry times where absolutely they have to go. And there are other times where it's not so black and white. And I love you all. I appreciate you. You're working so hard to be a dream maker for your team, make their dreams come true. And yet you have all that turmoil and stuff going on. I was going to talk about layoffs too, but that's a whole subject in itself. And I'll talk about that next time. But feel free to email me at liz@augustalawncareservices.com about hiring and firing, but particularly the firing, how you should handle some things. And I am more than happy to help you. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.